All right, so hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about apostrophes. And so apostrophes are actually so simple and pretty easy to learn. So once you master them, they'll be really easy for you on the SAT. So let's just take a look at a few examples and I think then you'll get them down. All right, so there are mainly two times when you use apostrophes, and the two times are possession or in contractions. So we're going to start with possession. Possession is really easy. When something owns something else or when something belongs to something else, you use an apostrophe. And the best way to understand this is to look at examples. So for the example here, the dog's tail shakes back and forth. In this case, the tail belongs to the dog, or the dog owns the tail. So you use an apostrophe between the G and the S to show ownership of the tail from by the dog, if that makes sense. So it's, again, like really simple, just use an apostrophe when something owns something else or when it belongs to something else. And we'll take a look at a few more examples so you kind of get the hang of it. So here the calculator's button is stuck. The button belongs to the calculator, so you use an apostrophe. Or the pen's cap is very nice. The cap belongs to the pen, or the pen owns the cap. So again, you use an apostrophe here after the last letter and between the S. Now, there's some cases where apostrophes can get a little bit tricky, and that's what I really want to focus on in this video. So when there are apostrophes, sometimes you can be talking about more than one thing. And in that case, you have to put an apostrophe after the S. So let's take a look at this example so you understand. Both of these sentences are actually grammatically correct, but in one of them, we're talking about a singular object, and in another one, you're talking about a plural one. So in the first one, you're talking about a single boy. The boy's mom is nice. You're talking about one boy and his mom is nice. In the second one, with the apostrophe after the S, you're talking about multiple boys. So the boy's mom is nice. They're talking about their boy, like the boys as a whole, like there could be a group of boys and their mom is nice. So both of them are grammatically correct, but if you're talking about multiple boys, you have to put an apostrophe after the S. If you're talking about one boy, you put an apostrophe before the S. And really on the SAT, the way you'll know if something is plural or if something is singular is just by context clues, you'll be able to figure it out then. And here are more examples when things are plural. So the book's pages were fresh. If you're talking about multiple books, you put an apostrophe after the S, or the pictures frames were nice. Again, there are multiple pictures, so you put an apostrophe after the S. Now, sometimes you're talking about multiple people, but that doesn't mean you put an apostrophe after the S. So in this case, the team's manager is a great person. A team is a group of multiple people, but team doesn't end in S. So since team doesn't end in S, you don't put an apostrophe after it. After the S, you actually keep the apostrophe before the S. So if something is plural, but it doesn't end in S, then you're going to add an apostrophe S to show ownership or to show possession. And then this case, I haven't seen it that much on the SAT, but it's just a good rule to know in general. If something ends in S, you add the apostrophe S, even though it already ends in S. So when you say the bus's door was closed, you don't say the bus door was closed. You have to add the apostrophe S to indicate that it's the bus's door. Okay, so the second time you use apostrophes is with contractions. And so right here, I have a list of pretty common contractions. You can pause the video and read through them. So contractions are basically just a shortened version of two words put together, and they're mainly useful when you're talking, sometimes when you're writing as well. So contractions, the rule with contractions is really easy. You really just have to have them memorized if you don't know them already. But if you, even if you don't have them memorized, the way you do contractions is when you're reading the sentence, you read the entire sentence, but you read the uncontracted version. So in this example, she told me that its back is broken. Just read it uncontracted. She told me that its back is broken. She told me that its back is broken doesn't make grammatical sense. So in this case, you're not going to use an apostrophe, and it's not a contraction. Instead, it's the actual word its. And so there's the basic rule is just that read it. If it makes sense, read it uncontracted. If it makes sense, then you use the apostrophe. If it doesn't make sense uncontracted, then there is no apostrophe. And so this is just one example, and there's so many more that you can do online. But it's pretty simple. Apostrophes are a pretty simple topic. That's just a very basic overview of them. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out.